Okay. So the new drama, the controversy, the whatever with the Vikings is, at least this time, it's not about Kirk. Not directly, anyway. It's Danielle Hunter. Um, the whole fan base is freaking out because the other night or the other day, um, there goes my stupid thing falling over. Um, um, Danielle Hunter went on Twitter and I guess he liked a few tweets that referenced him being traded. It wasn't real. I went and looked at them. They weren't like real specific. They weren't like. It wasn't like anything like Vikings suck. They need to trade him. And it was nothing like that. It was nothing. It was mostly pretty innocuous stuff. You know. Um, but and I don't know who the fuck it is that checks these things. Like who what Vikings fans out there have the amount of free time that they can just spend their days looking at the feeds and the pages of social media pages of Viking players to see, what tweets they're liking and retweeting, and who they're following and not following, and all this stuff. Like, who has the time to do that? Like, I wish I had that amount of free time. Um, but so there've been a couple tweets that he liked, uh, referencing him being traded, not specifically like he's got to get away from the Vikings. Nothing is very, I thought, pretty innocuous stuff that he liked. Um, and it's like, I'm sure there have been hundreds more tweets since referencing Danielle Hunter being traded, and he hadn't liked anything as far as I'm aware. Um, so, I'll admit that it's strange, maybe that he would like those, but it's not like he's publicizing it really. But this fucking fan base and the media in this town, they won't let anything not become a controversy. So they've all decided that this is a crisis situation for Rick Spielman, that he's got to do something with Danielle Hunter. Um, Now, there were reports, I know a couple of them were out there during the season last year, that Hunter isn't happy with his contract. He wants to be the highest paid defensive player in the league, things like that. And I think there's been a couple more reports now. I mean, again, there's really been nothing from him as far as I'm aware. Um, Obviously the timing would be bizarre. Like, like Danielle Hunter up through 2019. Yeah, he probably could warrant being the highest paid defensive player in football. I mean, he's really damn good. He's on a Hall of Fame trajectory, probably. And he's getting paid good. Like, he's not the highest paid player in the league or anything, but he's one of the highest paid players on the team. I don't know where he ranks among defensive players in the NFL. But, like, this isn't like hey, he's playing on like a seriously undervalued contract where, like, he's getting, $5 million a year and he's a superstar. It's not like that. It's not like that at all. He's getting paid really good money. And again, I've said it before, I'll say I don't begrudge NFL players trying to get paid. Because, I mean, look, he just had a neck injury, missed a whole season. Maybe he's not, I could see a scenario where that happened to him, and he started thinking, man, I really got to maximize my money now, because it ain't guaranteed that I'm, pass rushers can play well into their 30s, but there's no guarantees that he will. I mean, once you have a neck thing, anytime it's dealing with a neck. things can get a little dicey. You know, but and again, there's been nothing like explicit from Hunter or his agent or anyone connected to him, as far as I know. Maybe behind the scenes there's been something. Maybe there's been talks between, the Hunter, Team Hunter and Spielman. Of course, Spielman came out the other day. One of the things he said, and look, I admit, GMs lie. It's kind of their job to lie. So Spielman could be lying when he said that Hunter has not requested trade. He's not requested, he's not demanded some big raise or anything like that. Maybe he's BSing us. I mean, but again, this would be just really, really bizarre timing because, again, Hunter through 2019, yeah, you just pay him. You pay him what he wants because he's fucking amazing. And you never can be 100% sure with any sort of a neck injury and the recovery from that. The guy's a physical freak. I think he'll come back and be what he was. I don't think there's a huge worry that he's just gonna never recover, and never be the same player. But it's really, really weird timing. If he's I've seen a bunch of social media posts now the last day or two. Vikings fans freaking out and and they're ripping Spielman and they're ripping the team because why aren't we paying Hunter? Well, we are paying Hunter. Like yeah, if your goal is to be the highest paid defensive player, yeah, well, he's not that. He's not getting paid at that level. But I mean, he's getting paid really good money. He's getting paid 8 figures. And he's signed for 3 more seasons. All at 8-figure salaries. So it's like, if I don't know much necessarily about Danielle Hunter as a human being. I don't have any reason to think he's some selfish, me player. I mean, but I've never heard really much to indicate that he is. So this would seem really just out of character, like for him to all of a sudden now, to have to come off a season where he didn't play. He had a serious injury that cost him the whole season, and he's gonna then start demanding this huge new contract when he's still got 3 years left on his current deal at a pretty damn good salary. Or hinting, I guess, if you want to believe the stuff that he was liking on Twitter, that he wants to be traded. Because I mean, just go down the list. One, you're coming off a season where you didn't play because of a major neck injury. You got the cap situation, and I'm sure he, I doubt he studies the Viking salary cap, but he knows as well as anyone on the team that the team is cap strapped, and obviously that, like when the Hunter deal was signed, and basically when most of these deals were signed, no one knew that they were going to have a season where COVID just fucked their revenue. I mean, to an extent. I mean, it's not like the NFL's hurting for money at all, but there were no expectations that, oh my God, this salary cap that keeps going up by 10+ million every year after year after year, is suddenly going to drop by 20. million or whatever it is. So it's like, the Vikings are concerned right now with, cutting cap. They're not concerned with, giving one of their highest paid players an extension. Because, like, the list of priorities, I'm sorry, Danielle Hunter is pretty far down the list, giving him any sort of new contract or new extension or whatever you want to call it. So it's like, he knows that's the situation. He has to. There's no way he doesn't know the situation. So if there's something where he's trying to force a trade, well, like, why does he suddenly want to be traded? That baffles me. Of course, everyone will have their conspiracy theories. Everyone's like, oh, Zimmer's driving everybody away because nobody likes playing for Zimmer. I'm just, the conspiracy theories about all this stuff is kind of just ridiculous to me. But and look, maybe this some of the stuff with some of the quarterbacks, it's now starting to filter down to other positions, and guys just are going to start. It's going to start to be the NBA, and maybe star players are just going to constantly want to leave and constantly want to, demand new contracts and all this and that. I don't know, but at this, as great a player as he is, Hunter has to understand that he doesn't have much leverage. If all he cares about is, he doesn't care about, wins and losses as much as he wants to be the highest paid player. That's his goal in his career. What leverage does he have at this moment? Like a year ago, yeah. If this was 1 year ago today, and he's, looking to become the highest paid player, he's got leverage. But what leverage does he have? He's got 3 years left on his contract. He's coming off a year that he missed the whole year with a major injury. I mean, what's he going to do? Is he going to sit out? You're going to sit out a second year? I mean, then you won't have played for 2 years. And you're still going to have a couple years left on your contract. And again, you can say he's underpaid based on his production, to this point, and he's certainly worthy of being paid as certainly one of the top defensive players in football. But he's already kind of there. Like, he's already getting paid, high-end defensive money. So it's like, even if you just make it, public opinion, I don't really see what kind of leg he has to stand on, because, and again, this is all theoretical, because we don't really know that he has come out and said any of this to Spielman or to anybody, or that his agent has. But if he has, it's all speculative. But if all this stuff is true, it speaks terribly of Danielle Hunter, in my opinion, because the timing couldn't be worse, and it would show just a real lack of self-awareness, I think. And that's if, again, this is all if. I don't believe, I could buy it with Diggs. Like, we knew enough about Diggs to know that, when Diggs starts to become the malcontent, that it's legit. Like, he's got issues with the team or with his contract or playing time or whatever. I don't really know enough about Hunter, like, as a person to know if this is what he would be like. But I don't think that's what he's doing. And I don't know. Look, again, you know, he likes a few tweets that reference him being traded. And look, you could trade anybody. You could anyone is gettable for the right haul. You know, if somebody called up the Vikings and offered a couple of first-round picks and maybe something else for Hunter, I suppose you gotta at least listen to the offer. But after last season, what's probably the number one thing that fucked the Vikings last season? Lack of pass rush. And you're gonna go and, you know, trade Danielle Hunter now? Like, I mean, you could do it, but man, that would be such a risk, because if they go out there next year, you know, and I suppose theoretically, if you trade Danielle Hunter, then you get some high draft choices and you draft his replacement, and you have a Justin Jefferson replacing Stephon Diggs type of situation, and maybe you draft the next great pass rusher. You know, but that'd be just an enormous risk, because you can't go into next season with, you know, nothing in your pass rush. And, you know, I think one of the big reasons for hope for the Vikings to have a big bounce back next year is getting back a Danielle Hunter and getting that pass rush back. You know, because if you have a healthy Danielle Hunter in 2020, they're at least making the playoffs. They're at least getting in that last seed. You know, you're not gonna forfeit that possibility. You know, because again, there'd be no there would be no pressure on the Vikings to like hurry up and make some trade, because again, what's Danielle Hunter gonna do? Is he gonna sit out the 2021 season? Then you're sitting out 2 seasons, you know, in the prime of your career, which is only going to drive your value down. So that's why there's nothing that really indicates to me that, you know, over his career that Danielle Hunter is some idiot, and this stuff would all be indicative to me of a guy who's a real fucking idiot, and I just don't buy it. You know, and, you know, I think there could be a scenario where they do give him a bit of a, you know, pay raise, you know, extension, maybe like during next season or after next season. You know, if he comes back 2021, plays the season, and is his old dominant self, yeah, then you probably would be up for, you know, giving him an extension. Plus the cap is going to bounce back, especially after that next TV deal. You know, you're going to have the money to do it. But I mean, the risk for the Vikings right now, you know, would be you give him a big extension, you give him more guaranteed money, more cap money, you know, everything. And then he comes back and he's just not the same guy. If he's just an ordinary guy, or maybe even if he can't play. I mean, I assume he can play, but it's not guaranteed. If he comes back next year and he's just not the same guy, or it starts to kind of become a thing where maybe he starts to be injury prone with other types of injuries, I mean, and you've just given him enough, you know, tens of millions more dollars and more years probably, and you're just screwed. Like, people want to bitch about the Kirk Cousins contract. Boy, if you did that with Hunter and he couldn't really cut it at that level anymore, that would be way, way more damaging. But again, for this to be the crisis situation that a lot of the fans and media seem to want it to be, because they always want everything to be, you know, DEFCON 1 with the Vikings. For it to really be that, like, would just have to show Danielle Hunter is a real jackass and a real idiot, and I just don't believe that he is that. Like, he can want whatever money he wants, and maybe he does want to be the highest paid player, but like, he has to understand that the only way he's going to get there is to play this next season as is and show that he's still the same dominant player. I mean, you can look at it that, hey, that'll be some added motivation for next year. You know, he could be comeback player of the year, maybe, and he can, become the highest paid player, in the defensive player at least in the NFL, for as part of it. And look, it's not like the Vikings don't pay their guys. Like, they've paid Hunter. This is not a franchise that is scared of signing big extensions. And I think with this 1 year, the cap is a problem, but it's not going to be a problem forever. So they'll have the opportunity to give him a pay bump after this next season, if it's warranted. And again, all the leverage sits with the team, because you got to get him out there and see what he can do. You got to at least see him in, like, off-season activities, for God's sakes. And I think they know that, and I don't, again, Spielman came out and said that Hunter isn't, demanding a trade. He doesn't want to be the highest paid player, so everyone assumes that it's the opposite, because that's, we go back to the years ago when they traded Percy after saying, well, we have no plans to trade Percy, and after they trade Diggs, well, we have no plans to trade Diggs. Well, yeah, I mean, again, there's a chance, I suppose a 5-10% chance that some team hears that, hey, maybe we could get Danielle Hunter, and they come to the Vikings with a great offer, and they offer, like, multiple first-round picks. I wouldn't trade Danielle Hunter for anything less than multiple first-round picks, because, if some other team is really desperate to get him, and they don't have even the slightest bit of doubt that he's going to come back from this injury and be the same guy, like, okay, put your money where your mouth is. Give us a whole haul for the guy. But I want multiple first-round picks for the guy at least, in any trade. I don't think they will trade him. I don't think there's any need to trade him. I don't think there's any need to rush into giving him a big, extension to his contract that still has 3 years left on it. Like, if he had 1 year left on his contract, okay, then you got to do something. Maybe even if there's 2 years, then you're kind of, because you don't want to go into, like, a lame duck year. But no, he's got 3 years left at big money, so you're fine there. You don't have any incentive to give in to Hunter's demands, if Hunter is even making demands. And again, if he is making these demands with this timing, with everything, with his injury, the cap, everything, it really reflects badly on Hunter, in my opinion. But I don't think that's what's going on. I don't really know what the motivation is behind liking the tweets, but it's like, again, like someone said to me on the comment section, like, this is him making a statement. Well, why is that a statement? Like why, what is the statement? If that's the statement, then shouldn't it be a little more of a clear statement? Because what does it mean? Like, if he wants to be traded, well, why would he want to be traded away from a team where he has kicked ass his whole career? Like, he was, a mid-round draft pick, and he became a superstar under the tutelage of Mike Zimmer. So why would he suddenly want to get away from that? Unless he believes, like, okay, the team's fucked. And of course, okay, I said this has nothing to do with Kirk. Here's where it kind of ties into Kirk, because everything will tie into Kirk somewhat. It's, the theory being Hunter's mad because Kirk's overpaid. He doesn't like seeing Kirk Cousins making all that money, because that's one of the the conspiracy theories, that all the players hate Kirk Cousins because he's overpaid and they're mad that he's getting all this money. So, of course, it has to tie into Kirk because it always does. But I never even got around to the Snubgate, the Kyle Rudolph article snubbing Kirk Cousins and that whole line of BS that the fan base and media got into this week. It's been a busy week. There's been a lot of Vikings videos I wanted to do, but I haven't done them yet. But yeah, just it's, in summary, with Hunter, I don't think him liking a couple of tweets is a crisis situation that that the fan base needs to panic about. I think Danielle Hunter is a smart guy. I think he's a realistic person. I hope he is anyway. I think he knows that he's got to play at least this next season, prove he's still the same guy after that injury. And I think he's realistic. He knows that if that's his sole interest is getting paid more than any other defensive player, he has to know that you got to come back in 2021, kick ass, look like the same guy, and you know what? You'll get paid. And even at that point, if for some reason the Vikings decide that they don't want to be the team to pay him, well, then you could trade him to some other team that would pay him. He's still young enough that someone would give you a haul if that's how it all played out. But it's not a crisis. The Vikings, as of right now, have all the leverage because Hunter's the guy who missed with the injury. Hunter's the guy who still has 3 years left on his contract. And the Vikings have more immediate, far more immediate concerns. As far as cap moves and free agent moves and preparing for the draft and everything. Giving a very well compensated Danielle Hunter even more money is way down on the list of priorities. So I would just say, Vikings fans, please, just this once, can you try not to freak out? Because this is not a crisis. This isn't even a thing we have to worry about right now. So just calm down.